What's up, guys? Nascimento Marketing's 32 Blitz presented by Living Sport. This is stream number 3. Tonight's going to be Guelph University versus Algonquin College as they play on NHL 20. So quickly, before I introduce you to today's guests, let's just go over the rules quickly. So, best of 3 series. So whoever wins 2 games advances. It's going to be 12-minute games, so 4-minute periods in hockey here. Winner advances, kind of like I mentioned, to the next round. And then for selecting the teams, we're going to do random. So you get to pick between 2 randoms. But if you don't like your 2 randoms and you want to go for a third, you have to stick with your third. Now let's get into the guests. Just above me here is Spencer. He's from Guelph, or the University of Guelph. Below me is Jacob. He's in Ottawa. And then Tina in California, which is pretty nice. Let me unmute everybody here. And I guess before we start the introduction, let's get the game going. It's actually lagging right now, but that's okay. I guess maybe you guys should start on teams you don't want to play with, because then it makes it a little more interesting if you guys have some decent teams.
So we get to pick teams first?
So, you pick a team you don't want to. So, basically, if I were you, I would pick Toronto, because I don't like the Leafs. And then I know you'd like the Leafs. I saw the Matthews jersey earlier.
There's a couple Leaf jerseys over here, so
yeah, I'm glad they're out of the screen. But MLSC, if you're watching this, give me a call. So how about we start this? The leg's done. Who's on? Jacob, you're on the right. Perfect. Yeah. Spencer, you're on the left. Yeah, do you guys want to start with your first random or first 2 randoms? I think it will be delayed, so just tell us who your 2 randoms are.
Oh. How do you randomize?
press square.
Where am I?
Click on the team, and then it should be like the arrows beside the name.
I got Columbus and the Islanders. Do I randomize now for my third team, or do I wait for you to get your 2 first?
Well, so what is
Sure, I'll go my 2 random.
Yeah.
Okay, All Stars, that doesn't count, right?
No.
Montreal or Washington? Ooh. Washington's a pretty good pick. I think I'll have to go with that.
Jacob, we're here. And I got Philly.
You got Philly? So
pretty good one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good for a third. Here, the stream's just a little laggy here, but that's okay. You guys can just start it up, and hopefully by the time it starts, the gameplay will be on. One person on YouTube. How's it going? To who's on YouTube? So I guess to kind of start, I think, is this the whole stream lagged? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, what difficulty do I set it as? Does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter unless Spencer is all pro here, like he was saying.
It's just a little bit like something, I guess.
Yeah, I'll leave it at all-star. I think it's a couple above rookie.
Yeah, I'll be good.
Perfect. All right, here we go.
Perfect. The stream's back on too, so that's good. You guys hear me all right? Hello? Well, it's not a bad first night to have issues with the stream, but that's okay. Are you guys able to hear me? Because it's always saying my computer's giving me notifications saying the internet's unstable. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Audio good so far.
Yeah? That's odd. Starting up. Sorry about that. Hello? You guys there? You guys are all frozen.
Oh,
You're not frozen on my end.
No? Did you guys do the face-off yet, or you're just about to now, right?
We're already like a minute or 2 in.
Pardon?
We're or 2 in.
2 minutes in.
Well, like this time, but yeah.
Oh, jeez. Let's see if I can fix
Oh, I thought you had a back there.
So did I.
It's usually a guarantee. Oh,
Hello?
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just restarted my internet, so
We can
hopefully
hear you.
I'm back. You guys can hear me fine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. The game's back on. And are you guys at the 14-minute mark?
13.
Oh, close enough. Okay. Good enough. Oh, perfect. Now the stream's going. You guys are moving. I see your lips going. That's good. Spencer, I know you thought it was going to be a little difficult to talk and play, but I think it's time to start that challenge. Do you want to
Put it
maybe
to the
tell everyone a bit about yourself, and then we can kind of go from top to bottom?
Yeah, sure. So I just finished my 4th year at the University of Guelph. Play on the men's hockey team there, studying management, economics, and finance. And right now, I have an internship with PepsiCo, specifically with the Frito-Lay division, and my title's summer sales rep. But basically, we just go in the stores, do merch, do orders, and work on promos with the store managers and stuff. So it's a pretty good job for the summer, and honestly, under the circumstances, just really thankful to be working and have employment. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
That's pretty good. Actually, I looked into that position when I was in university as well, because they came to U Ottawa, but it seemed pretty cool. But I ended up getting a job in accounting. So
Yeah.
at the time I was in accounting, so that was good. But definitely maybe missed out on that a bit. But yeah, Jacob, do you want to give a little rundown on yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Jacob. My career in terms of sports, I used to run the social media for the Ottawa 67s. I did that for 2 years. And then I ran social for the Ottawa Red Blacks for a year. And then I recently just left the Red Blacks, and now I run my own marketing agency called Jack Marketing.
Yeah. You don't want to shout out the podcast just a bit?
Oh yeah, and I host a podcast called My Social Life, where I sit down and interview people that do interesting things on social media. I published 90 interviews of that podcast. I've been doing it for about 2 years now.
Yeah. Jacob was actually my first guest on my podcast too, so he helped me come up with that idea. And yeah, Tina, last but not least.
Yeah, so my name's Tina. I'm with the presenting sponsor Living Sport. I'm alumni of the program. Went to London in 2018 and Cancun in December of 2019. Brief rundown of what Living Sport is. Basically, it's an international sports business program. It's about a 10-day trip where you're immersed in your location's culture and sport culture all around, and you get partnered with a organization. You get to help produce their event. So super cool, a lot of fun. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you say Cancun, like Mexico?
Yes, Cancun, Mexico.
Not a bad.
That was a pretty cool event. It was with Ocean Man Open Swim.
Okay.
So basically, it's a 10K open water swimming event.
Wow.
That was the big one. So super cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know you guys went to Mexico as well. Yeah, I was looking to the programs because, now that I'm working with Living Sport, trying to learn more about it, and for sure some cool teams and different events that you guys work with, especially in London or UK,
sure.
And
That was gross.
as well. Yeah, but wow. Oh, Jacob, this is gonna get ugly.
Good.
Yeah, but
You spoon fed me the first one.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Goalie.
speaking of talking and not paying attention and trying to play chill at the same time, I just served that one up for you.
So I might have to swap in here. No, I'm kidding. But no, that's pretty good stuff. Yeah, so that's everyone. Oh, I guess I should say who I am. I'm Nascimento, or Christopher Nascimento of Nascimento Marketing. So where is it? Over here, right under the goal that Jacob just let in. It says at Nascimento Marketing. So you can follow me if you want. The tournament's also named after me because I made it, and why not? And yeah, so I'm a recent graduate of the University of Ottawa. I got a marketing degree, and yeah, been trying to grow my career in sports. Started off with a local hockey startup. Then, I graduated early in December, worked on growing my brand and networking, came up with a podcast and different events like this one, and some sponsorships with athletes that I was kind of working on before this. And then got involved with the local soccer team here, Atletico Ottawa, about a week or two ago, and that's pretty cool stuff. Been shooting some promo today and tomorrow. So pretty interesting times, but yeah, thanks for everyone joining, and that's a little rundown on us, and I guess we can kind of get into the stream a bit more. Yeah, I'm just looking at the score here because it's a little delayed, but 2-0, 350 left. I was looking for a tighter game today because I think all 2 other streams have been blowouts. So
I just gotta get my act together here.
Yeah. Maybe we don't ask Jacob questions until the second game, and we just let the show go on Spencer and Tina for now. But yeah, does anyone kind of maybe want to share what they've been up to right now during, I think, who was it? Oh, Spencer mentioned how he's kind of lucky to have a position with Frito-Lay at the moment because these circumstances are so wild. So everyone kind of touched on, Jacob with the marketing agency. Tina, I know before this, you kind of touched on what you're doing, and Spencer, you're working. But in terms of sports or just networking as a whole, what everyone's doing to kind of get involved and keep your name out there. Tina, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. So before COVID and quarantine kind of kicked in, I was the manager of Imbue Winter Guard. Still am, but our season kind of got cut short, and we're just kind of waiting for that to kind of roll back into season later in the year. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I was also teaching color guard. That's the flag entertainment aspect of a marching band show. If you've got no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay too. So doing that, and then that also ended because there's no more school with high schools. And so now I've kind of just been listening to webinars, just trying to network with people, sending emails, reading some books that have always been on my checklist. So just things like that, just trying to stay educated. Grad school research has also been a side time, part-time kind of gig, just looking into those, seeing what that'll be, because I recently also graduated. So that's pretty much been the rundown of it.
No, that sounds like pretty good stuff. It seems like you're staying active and trying to keep yourself busy. Jacob, you touched on your new marketing agency and, your podcast and things like that. You want to maybe touch on how it kind of affects business and maybe how it affects the podcast as well?
Yeah, I mean, for the podcast, it's nothing too crazy. It's pretty much stayed business as usual. The only big change for the podcast is that I can't do it in person anymore. Obviously, it's all been remote. So it's been a minute since I've recorded a podcast in person. The last one I recorded in person would have been one of the Red Blacks ones when I was still there. Mm-hmm. So that's the big change from the podcast. But I was already recording remote, so it's not the end of the world. It's just every single one's remote now. Yeah. And then on a business side, nothing too I haven't been affected too much by COVID in terms of my business. It's literally my third week full time doing it. Mm-hmm. I'd been doing it since January, so I think I started May with 2 clients, and then by the end of May had 5. So it hasn't really slowed anything down at all. And like I said, I was lucky enough to take it full time, but for a while there, I was doing both Red Blacks and my agency at the same time. Granted, the agency was still pretty small then. It's still not big. I kind of describe it as a boutique agency just because I'm running it as a solopreneur right now. I don't have a team with me or anything. But yeah, so in terms of COVID or anything, it hasn't really slowed business down. It's actually given me time to kind of focus on it. If I'd still been at the Red Blacks, having to go into the office, I probably would have been able to do it to the ability that I had working from home. So that's kind of the biggest shift for me in terms of COVID.
Yeah. Before we get into Spencer, do you want to kind of touch on what it's like to make that jump, especially at a young age, right? I believe you're 22 like me, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to touch on that jump where you're going from, having that steady pay, knowing where your money's coming from rather than depending on yourself?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I was honestly most scared to actually come to terms with the decision and actually hand in my 2 weeks, because to your point, the safety net's gone at that point, right? I'm on my own. But because I've been running the business since January is when I'd started it, I decided to not, and I'm still working with Red Blacks. I didn't really spend any money that the business brought in. I let it all just kind of sit in the business account.
Mm-hmm.
So I have expenses covered. I have a bit of a runway that I've saved up if everything goes poorly.
Okay.
Knock on wood. I don't think it's going to go poorly, but if it all were to go to zero, like I'm covered for a couple months just because I saved. So with that kind of like safety net I made, it made the jump a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of where I was at. Like it was really scary to hand in my 2 weeks and actually make that decision. But once I did, like it wasn't too bad.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Especially if I remember this correctly when we kind of talked about it, when I messaged you, it was in the middle of COVID, right? That you handed the 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was literally like, at this point now, probably about 5 weeks ago when I would have handed it in.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's some big news too, and congrats on that again. Spencer, do you want to kind of touch on Frito-Lay a bit and how that kind of maybe affects your I don't know if you've done that position before in the past, but has it affected your role at all, whether it's going in with the promos or just interacting with the merchants as well?
Uh, yeah, you know what? It's more of a role where you work pretty independently.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my experience has been working with teams and particularly like in person, not remotely. It's kind of a big adjustment when I'm talking to my managers, my sales leaders, stuff like that, and I haven't even met them. I've literally just had phone calls with them, so it's kind of tough building a relationship from that standpoint. But that's kind of the way the world is shifting, right? Working from home is obviously becoming a trend even before this all started, and I'm sure that's going to continue even when things get relatively back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been kind of a learning experience for me because I'm a very personable individual. I like face-to-face interaction, and yeah, quite frank, as far as I'm concerned, talking over the phone or even over Zoom is just not the same as being in person. So that's that's the adjustment that I need to make. But yeah, overall, just been trying to make the most of this time. A lot of at the very beginning, everyone's like, "Oh, like how are you making your time pass and whatever." And after like a week or two, I'm like, "Hey, I'm not gonna let the days go by. I'm gonna make the most of my days, right? Like we're gonna find other ways to have fun and self improve and be productive, right?" So it's been overall, it's been a good humbling experience lately.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if that was a little shot at the little tournament here with the Zoom call, but yeah, and he scores at the same time.
At
Wow,
the
eh?
same time, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm not even gonna touch on that anymore because he just made us all look bad. But okay, we get it. You're good at NHL and you know what you're talking about. But just kind of building on Frito-Lay a bit, considering it's involved with Pepsi and Frito-Lay is such a huge company as well, and you really kind of have that entrepreneurial mindset, right? When you guys do the work, what do you like suggest to those who kind of want to get into sports? Because Frito-Lay, sorry, is at every university, trying to recruit people. And you might maybe want to touch on how that experience could help later on, or how do you see it helping?
Sorry, in terms of sports and just term life experience in general.
Whatever you want to answer. This is a free podcast.
Okay.
Or whatever
Well,
this is.
I would say actually being involved in sports really helps you work with any sort of big company because as cliche as it is, having that experience working in teams and being a part of a team, it's like it makes things so easy when it comes to working in the professional world. So I would kind of flip that and say having experience working in sports and playing sports before really helps you in that environment. And then just from like the overall experience working at the company, I've worked a wide range of jobs and a lot of different from companies that are only like 5 people big to obviously a company like this where I don't know what the total employment is, but it's obviously in the tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see what separates a company like that from smaller companies, what initiatives they're taking to get to the top or to stay on top. And yeah, just how all their processes work. It's definitely a cool experience, and especially if you ever do want to run your own business one day, it's a good experience to have.
Yeah, running your own business, Jacob Kelly, that kind of flows pretty well. Something I was gonna ask though, because usually on these tournaments, even though it's only been 2, what I typically ask at the end is what like the career objective is for everyone on. So whether it's, I know for me, something more of a C-level executive in sports. Do you guys want to kind of touch on that? Maybe we can kind of further it Spencer or Tina. Actually, Tina, you haven't spoken in a few minutes. You want to go first and say what? And you guys can cut in.
Sure,
I don't want to
first.
feel like I'm Oprah or something where I'm just asking questions. But yeah, by all means, Spencer, don't look at the screen so much. Let Jacob have some screen time. But Tina,
Yeah.
do you want to go?
Sure, I'll go first. So I really like the event game day, behind the scenes, things go wrong that no one knows about. That's kind of my favorite part about being involved in sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to stay in the behind the scenes realm, event operations side of it, the planning side. I do like to travel a lot, so I hoping to maybe kind of stay in the travel realm for the next 10-ish years. But I think that's long term goal will be event coordinator role at a stadium venue. Something kind of in that realm is where I'm aiming
Yeah, for sure.
for the
Just to plug my podcast here, I had a guest called Rachel Callahan, and she's in kind of the same area that you're talking about, like game promotion and operations of game days. So that's something you should check out. The Route podcast, whoever's listening to, check it out. Good stuff. But yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. I just remember the plug. But Jacob, what was I saying? Some career goals. Jacob, is the agency the end goal?
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now is what the end goal. I don't know, like I've never operated with an end goal. I've always just kind of like, I don't know, just never have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure it out because I'm pretty much at capacity with the agency now personally. So it's, do I either decide to scale it as an agency and start bringing on staff or even subcontracting and growing that way? Or do I leave it as a solopreneurship like it is right now and have the freedom and flexibility to either travel if I want to, because none of my clients are actually in Ottawa.
Okay.
So I can technically be anywhere and just keep working. So do I leave that flexibility to be able to travel and still work at the same time and not have to worry about having a staff or subcontractors to keep track of? And then just have the freedom and flexibility to go where I want and do what I want while still working? Or do I try and kind of scale the agency? So I'm in the process of trying to figure out how I want to play it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an interesting time, especially at the age of 22. There's something that you said there which was interesting that I don't know why I'm blank so much. I typically do. But you're kind of talking about traveling and then also with, the agency and seeing where it goes. Do you have an interest or even like talk to interns or anything like that? Because
not yet, because it's still so fresh.
Yeah.
Like it's still so new. Like it's been a couple weeks, of full time. But no, I haven't talked to anybody yet.
Yeah. You see, the crazy thing too.
Just...
No, that's okay. I don't know if you noticed this either with your social media, because I know you have a pretty big following, but even just with like Nascimento Marketing, so it's not a company or anything. It's literally just an Instagram account, Twitter, where I kind of promote what I'm doing. I've been getting emails of like students asking to be my intern for the summer because a lot of internships have been canceled. And then I'm like, okay, like, what do you want to do? And then they're like, oh, like, whatever. And then I end up having a call, not to hate on someone, but I end up having a call and they only wanted to work 2 hours a week. And then they wanted to, like, host the podcast. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. But, yeah, anyways. But, see, I can't, anyways, yeah. I'm so lost. I'm just watching the game, and then I just see Spencer passing it back and forth. Spencer, do you think because you play hockey, this gives you a little advantage here?
It definitely is. You don't play this game how you would play hockey. Definitely a little bit more fair. Reckless abandonment for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun just running around and getting to smoke everyone.
Yeah, I actually won the Stanley Cup earlier today with the Senators, so that's a pretty big deal. But
low key flex.
yeah, not a big deal or anything. But yeah. A little cheat code here. I think I said this before the stream started, but when I played that guy that was a top 500 player in Canada, apparently if you go, LB on the controller, Jacob, maybe if you want to try that, LB, apparently it helps you get into the zone. It's some cheat code or something.
You can
you skate backwards and then you quickly go forwards again, and then it just messes up the computer defense. Yeah. Well, it even messed up my defense because when he was doing it to me, I couldn't guard him. But yeah, I can't see the screen anymore. It just keeps blocking out. But Tina, have you played any sports or have you been involved? Whether it's maybe you game. Do you game?
Like the stream?
Pardon?
Not really delved into the esports realm at all, but I grew up very much on the artistic side of sports. I did gymnastics. I did ice skating for 14 years, so I do know how to get around on the ice. Color guard, diving, swimming. What else was there?
So you're
Kind
saying
of
maybe we should make a content piece, you versus Spencer on the ice? Nascimento's, I don't know, what was that skating show on CBC where it was like a hockey
Battle of the
player?
Blades.
That's it. Battle of the Blades, Nascimento Marketing Edition. Get everyone who's been on this tournament and see who can dance the best.
Okay, but we should switch skates. Like I'll put on hockey skates and he can put on figure skates.
Spencer, what are the likelihood of that happening? You putting on figure skates?
Oh, I would probably eat it really hard because they are very different figure skates and hockey skates. Figure skates got the pick on the toe,
Yeah.
and you gotta
Pick,
skate.
yeah.
You gotta skate really upright. So that's the complete opposite of me. So I'd probably be missing more teeth. I have fake teeth now, but more
What?
teeth
Oh,
than I
whoa.
already have.
Let's not pass over that. Actually, wait, before we get into that, I got a quick
These guys
story.
are fake.
Which ones?
My front two.
Really?
Fake. Yeah. So dentist did a good job on them.
Yeah, wow.
Look better than the ones I had before.
Was it a Guelph that you took them out?
No, of all my 20 something years of competitive hockey, it wasn't that. Oh, we just lost connection. That's not good.
Yeah, I lost connection here too. Oh, it's slowly going.
But yeah, my 20 some odd years playing hockey, it happened during beer league of all places with my
Really?
buddies. A guy just blindly swung his stick and knocked my front two teeth out, and yeah, that was fun.
Beer league it's like the jungle. You never know what's gonna come out of it. I did what was it? So I had concussion issues, so I was supposed to like stay away from any sort of contact, anything like that. But then last year I joined like a ball hockey league because some guys from my class were doing it. And everyone in the league is 30, 40 years old. No offense to them. They have some beer bellies. So a little bigger, a little slower. And, being a younger guy, and I played sports not too long ago, just zoom by them. They take their wooden sticks, shafts, boom, right to the shin. And then one time I think I just like went through a guy. Didn't mean to. And then he just like starts punching me in the head. It's like, buddy, like it's a Wednesday of like playing ball hockey. But sorry about that. Anyways, you guys were playing the stream. Is it cut out or did the game end?
I think the game itself lost connection.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah, game lost connection.
Yeah.
was it third period?
Yeah.
Oh.
Jacob was man a comeback though.
I saw that. See, that I was gonna go with that because Giroux scored, right? So
Twice, and then
How much time was left?
not much.
Like 10 minutes?
Oh, we're getting another issue.
If that, maybe even less.
And
Yeah,
today
there
we're
was
getting a
like-
bunch of issues.
There was 12 minutes left.
If you want, though, we can just do 12 minutes of the same teams to finish it off in our first period, and then we can move on from there.
Sounds fine by me.
What was it, 3-2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of go with aggregate scores like soccer.
Or sorry, I guess we can't carry that to the next game because you can't set it for 3.5.
Yeah,
periods.
true.
What was I gonna say?
You can take the dub if you want.
Oh no, we could finish it. Like, I want to cheat out of one. You were getting hot there at the end.
A little bit.
Jacob,
So how do we? Sorry, what?
is it still going on your? Because it's not showing up anymore.
It's not showing.
Yeah, why don't we just start a new one, same teams, and then just play the first 12 or 13 minutes of that game. Then
Yeah,
someone
works
could keep
for
an eye
me.
on the clock.
Here in the meantime, I'll tell my quick Giroux story because you scored with him. I actually met him when he was 15. Wasn't a big deal yet. Maybe he was 16. I was playing hockey. Kid on my team was his billet family, and everyone knew him as the Hall player. 'Cause I live in Hall, or I did, and he's wearing the gear, all that stuff. So being like 10 or whatever, or 12, it was a big deal having a Gatineau guy there, and. My mom, being, the Portuguese lady she is, she doesn't know anything about hockey or anything like that, sees a kid with horrible acne, and rather than, just minding her own business, she tells my sister, hey, that kid has really bad acne. Let me go get some cream for him in the car. And then, my sister had to hey, no, you can't do that. That's going to embarrass the kid. And then, I end up meeting him in the locker room. And my sister tells me that. I'm like, hey, that's Claude Giroux. And then 2 years later, he gets drafted into the league. So that was pretty cool. Met him in the locker room too. But yeah, quick story.
Wow, is the broadcast back?
No, it's not. But that's why I was doing my quick quarantainment.
Yeah, hold on.
Chris, do you know the story about him? He was supposed to he should have been drafted to the OHL, but he wasn't drafted. He ended up playing in the Q.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know.
Pardon? Go ahead.
I don't know the background behind it, but I just he was should have been playing in the OHL, but every team thought he wasn't eligible, and obviously they missed out on a pretty good player.
Honestly, so he's from around here, right? So
Yeah.
we live. Jacob's here in Ottawa too. He's just from outside Ottawa, I'm pretty sure. I remember when I was younger, I used to look at it wasn't hockey DB back then, but he was from a small town outside of Ottawa. And I always saw him with Gatineau. I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. So that makes it's pretty interesting now. And obviously you're in Toronto, but are you guys familiar with the Gatineau Olympics? Because that's a pretty big team in at least the CHL.
Yeah, no, a couple of my teammates at Guelph actually played there.
Oh yeah?
And my brother, when he played for the 67s, they played all their exhibition games against Gatineau because it was 30 minutes away. So yeah, familiar with Gatineau.
Tina, what are your thoughts on hockey? Considering you're SoCal's almost the complete opposite of up here in Canada, where we can just go skating in the winter on the actually even right through the city.
Yeah, we don't even get snow. If you got to go to Northern California, I'm down here in Southern California. So, luckily I grew up with a rink in my hometown, so I've had access to the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a professional game, but I've seen their ice, and I've been to all their training facilities.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So it's definitely on my radar, but it's not as accessible you guys have it, how it's in your backyard, but it's a little bit further away.
Yeah, for sure. So the stream's back, but then kind of building off what you're saying, just looking at the whole sporting industry as a whole, I think I talked about this either yesterday or something, but obviously the sport industry isn't just in SoCal, or it's not just in Ottawa, and there's teams everywhere, and there's different sports too. Would a sport like hockey, Jacob, or no, never mind, that's not Jacob, that's too bad. So what, 4-2 aggregate, I guess, if we're going that way. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, would you ever consider working in a sport that you're not too familiar with, and then maybe kind of bring in that whole different mindset or different type of ideas that may have not been there initially?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of my experiences with the artistic sports, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are subjectively judged. It's not a goal and a point. It's not it's none of the sports I've ever been really participated in have ever been that way. But at the same time, there's still aspects that you only got 5 minutes to get on the stage and get off. You only have everything's already set up. So there's still an aspect of time management and just execution and making sure everyone's in the right spot. So there's still moving parts and everything. And it's all in a way, everything's different, but it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to figure out the correlation between everything. Event ops is event ops. People in stands, getting people to events is still the same. It's just you got to find your target audience. So that's how I feel about it all.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure too, once you start getting involved in a sport, whether you're working or something, that's when you kind of that learning curve just shoots. But Spencer, what about you? Do you think you would ever try to get into a sport that you're not too familiar with? Whether it's actually someone yesterday, they work for the American Ultimate Disc League. So it's basically ultimate frisbee. Apparently, there's a team in Ottawa, and he's in Pennsylvania. But yeah, would you ever try a different sport like that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because my aunt and uncle years ago used to play professional ultimate frisbee.
No way.
So they got to travel Mexico and Spain and a bunch of different places and Australia to play. So they didn't tell me much about it. They did it years ago when I was just a baby. But yeah, honestly, I played a ton of different sports growing up. I played AA baseball. I played high level lacrosse. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I played goalie in soccer. So it definitely pretty passionate about sports in general. So definitely would feel in over my head in some positions in some circumstances and wouldn't want to be try to give too much advice, something I'm not an expert at. But with that being said, sometimes it's great adding someone to your team that has a very different perspective and way of thinking.
Yeah.
I was listening to Spitting Chicklets today, and they had a guest on. I forget his first name. His last name was Snow, and he's now the assistant GM. Yeah, Garceau, and not Garceau. I forget his first. I want to say Mike Snow, but I could be wrong. He was a beat writer out of Massachusetts, and he for like the Red Sox, and he was like a friend of someone who had a high position with the Minnesota Wild, and he ended up doing like hockey ops with them, and now he's assistant GM of the Calgary Flames. But he has no hockey background aside from like being a fan growing up, and the guy just kind of had an analytical mind. He brought a lot of like his thinking, like obviously baseball is probably the most analytical sport there is. And he brought a lot of that thinking towards hockey, and obviously that's a big part of the game now in hockey. So it just goes to show like you don't necessarily need a background in that sport to be successful in it.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking about that on the stream too yesterday because there's a few more sport management graduates on the stream, and I was telling them how I had someone on the podcast where a lot of times when you go to like an HK faculty or a sport management faculty, a lot of people want to get involved in sports, whether it's ops, management, coaching, etc. But then usually when you like look at hockey, basketball, whatever, it's usually people that have like a huge career, whether it's like a former player turns agent, like Joe Sakic goes GM for in the NHL, and then you don't really see that academic or that fan get into that management role. I think now too, like you're saying, with all these analytics and people studying those in school, I think that definitely makes an impact of who can really become a manager in basketball, baseball, or even hockey. But there's something I was gonna ask there, which was, what was it? Was there like for instance, I know Ottawa, they're getting new sports all the time. So we got a new basketball team this year. I think even today they announced they're gonna play right in St. Catharines. So that's pretty interesting. And, the soccer team came back this year and, they're owned by Atletico Madrid. And then I think next year there's a rugby team coming. So I guess I have a lot more people from Ottawa who tune into my content. So for those that are, interested in joining sports but don't know too much about rugby, does anyone have some advice of how to get in or even like further to that knowledge? Like to work in a sport that you don't really know of is what I mean.
I would say the best advice is you got to make some sort of connection. That's the only way I've ever gotten an interview, any sort of job, any sort of meaningful connection is, you gotta put yourself in a position to meet someone. You got to get your foot in the door one way or another. No,
yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. And that's something that I've been doing just with the podcast and the coffee chats. That's actually how Jacob and I met. I think I met someone and they said, oh, you should talk to this person. And then after a few coffee chats, I got 5 people telling me to go talk to Jacob. I'm like, damn, I got to meet this guy. But, yeah, that was pretty interesting. What I was going to say, Jacob, I know you work with 67s and the Red Blacks. And I know earlier today we kind of messaged about, storytelling. Do you find there's a huge difference when you're really kind of trying to portray a story or make content for these different sports, or is it really just focusing on that story?
I mean, it's probably a little bit different because it's just like different players with different backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think the OHL, it's different to tell a story of a guy in the OHL versus a guy that has come from Florida that's been cut by like 2 NFL teams and 3 CFL teams and this is like his last chance to play pro football. Like the stories are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, the story's the same, right? Like you just want to try and communicate it to a fan as best as possible. Yeah. Because it allows them to connect with the players, which then by extension allows them to connect with the team.
Yeah. Tina, for you, let's say, Jacob's telling a story about a 67s player, or, Spencer's writing a blog about himself at, Guelph playing hockey. What's something that you find would entice yourself as a non-generic hockey fan, I guess you could say, to, get you reading or trying to go to a game?
That's a great question.
Bingo, finally. I think I've been all over the place, but yeah.
Let's see.
I can talk a bit if you want in the meantime, then just raise your hand.
Yeah, talk a bit, let me think about it, and then I'll come back to it when I got it.
Okay, well,
Let me
let's talk
process
about
a
how
little bit.
Jacob's losing 3-0 because I don't think we've acknowledged that yet. Maybe I should jump in here on the PS4. Maybe it's the 2-on-1.
Maybe.
I think we should start going that LB button into the zone. But, yeah, here at
I
Jacob.
think I need more than an LB button.
Yeah, man. Spencer, are you sure you're working at Frito-Lay or are you just playing NHL during quarantine?
Man, I've maybe played 5 games of NHL since quarantine started.
Don't embarrass Jacob like that. Come on.
But no, I've had the game like every year. Like I've been playing it for years. So
Yeah.
like every year NHL's came out. So
Yeah.
pretty experienced with it.
Before I got into university, I always used to do that, and then, I had to focus on my grades a bit, so I sold it because I found, with work and all that, I wasn't using, so it wasn't giving me that much value. But I don't know why, but with sports games, I don't know if it's just the updated jerseys, updated rosters, and I have OCD for stuff like that, where I need the players on the right team. I always bought, the same, like NHL every year, same game, nothing changes. I guess now it's changing with online with EASHL, whatever that is, where you get to join in. And Tina, if you have a PS4, you can see Ottawa in that game. There's a 3-on-3 tournament on the canal. That's what I'm talking about, where you can play outside and skate through the city. But did you come up with that little answer here for hockey?
I did.
You did? That's
so
good.
I think the thing that I like most about like learning things about athletes is their life away from what they do, like on the ice per se. So like what kind of happens behind the scenes, or like what gets them like ready for the game kind of deal. Because it's that connection aspect that sometimes you're just like, oh, it's this hockey player that's so big and so known, but other than their jersey and what team they play for, what do you really know about them? But I think making them like that, making that personal connection is like super cool and would be like something I would look for.
So almost something like a piece of content like Hard Knocks, right? Are you familiar with Hard Knocks?
I am not, sorry.
No? What's another example I could use that's not hard? You wouldn't know it 24/7. Another goal. Wow. Yeah, I should just continue talking. So, Ovechkin, that's probably number 800 or 900, whatever he's on now. But, yeah. So, basically, what Hard Knocks is, I'll explain it quickly. For the NFL, every training camp, a team, I think this year is going to be the Chargers and the Rams because they're both new to LA. And they kind of provide a whole background documentary. Oh, yeah, you're from LA, so you should tune into that. HBO sponsored me.
That's just been blowing up all day.
Oh, yeah?
Like about those two teams. It's just like their new SoFi Stadium and just all of that has just been
Is it ready?
buzzing. No. It was supposed to be hosting a Taylor Swift concert in July, but that is no longer happening. So they're almost done, but not quite done. And I think they're supposed to have their first playoff game in August now. No fans, though.
Who's having a playoff game in August?
Playoff game?
Or not playoff game. Preseason game.
Preseason.
There it is.
Got it.
Sorry.
Quick question on the SoFi Stadium. Is that a Ram head or a Charger bolt?
It's Social Financial Stadium.
No, like
So that's
the bird's eye view of it. They made, I don't know if maybe that's a bad question to ask. Maybe we'll just use the good old Google machine. But
I think it's neither.
Really? Yeah. Well, now I have to Google it. On that, actually I can't do that because then it ruins the stream. But anyways, what was the question I was gonna ask here? Oh yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with what Hard Knocks is, but basically this year, LA, the Rams and the Chargers, they basically have a documentary crew from, I think it's HBO, where they kind of follow the team and they tell all the different stories behind the players. So how they got to the league, because not everyone's a first round pick or had the easiest road to the league or to whatever they're doing. They interview the coaches and you get to know about their home life, see their families. So maybe a piece of content like that's what really pulls you in, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
But what do you think for a smaller team? So let's say I guess I'm going to use the Ottawa example. There's a new soccer team. I'm working for them. And, next year there's going to be a rugby team. What do you think there's different ways, and anyone can jump in on this, for those teams to kind of pull people and create those new fandoms? Spencer, I'm going to ask you. Okay, Jacob, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I should say, I think with rugby, some of it's going to be like communicating the rules. Like, I don't know how many people. And I guess because I grew up in Manitoba, and I guess in Ontario there is high school rugby, but in Manitoba there isn't. So
Really?
it might be different here, but I don't know how many people like fully understand how rugby works, like in depth. So that might be part of their problem is communicating the rules.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
like, oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, my dad played 4 years at university, and I don't know half the rules to rugby. It's embarrassing. And I love rugby. It's a great sport to watch. I still don't know the rules.
Isn't it? See, all I know is you pass backwards, but I don't understand the thing where I think it's called a ruck, where they kind of ram into each other, kind of like the O line and the D line.
It's like they basically put the ball in like a giant scrum. Or there's a ruck when they toss it from outside. I don't know. I should stop talking. Yeah.
Scrum? Yeah, scrum's the one on the ground.
Yeah.
Actually, quick question here. Maybe no, it's okay. But, yeah, I think ruck is the toss-up, but I don't understand what a toss-up is. Maybe that's when it goes out of bounds.
Yeah, they literally, like, I've seen it where they literally lift guys on their shoulders. It's hilarious. They're lifting like 300-pound guys up, and yeah.
It's wild.
Those guys are the best athletes on earth as far as I'm concerned. You can run for that amount of time at that speed and be their size, like, unbelievable.
See, I don't know if you've ever seen Australian rules football or AFL. That's crazy. They're literally putting the knees in the back of people's heads.
Oh, they're savage.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
I was in Australia in January, and my buddies were showing me because I was visiting my buddies that were there, and they're showing me highlights, and people are just literally getting stomped on, and there's a full stadium like just cheering them on, and then they're just like chucking knucks and then continuing on with the game. Crazy sport, but yeah, crazy how things changed because hockey 40 years ago, slashing the back of the head, punching and all that, but it's kind of turning to more a finesse game now.
Yeah, I think sports in general are getting a lot less violent. Like, even like, if you guys were like watching like the Jordan doc, which I'm sure you were, this was like 20, 30 years ago. Guys are getting fist fights in the middle of the court. Like, oh, maybe that's a foul, like whatever. Now it's like 5-10 game, even more than that, suspension, like no questions asked.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think every sport's gotten a lot less violent.
Yeah. Tina, have you seen the Jordan doc? Oh, Tina's cut out. Tina? Oh, Tina's gone. Well, let's talk about the score.
I just scored one.
You know what? That's a comeback. Maybe we should almost do like I don't know if you guys have seen Chicklets Cup, where I guess they were playing gamers where they got so good that if Jacob, what's the score? 5-1. If Spencer only wins by 3, Jacob wins.
They do like you have to cover the spread.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
word a golf handicap, or a handicap for video game.
Yeah.
Could do that. That's tough to determine in this, but
let's go. Like Spencer has to win by 3 or 2. You have to win by 2.
All right.
It's all good.
Spencer, is there a specific area in sports you're trying to get into? Whether it's like marketing, sales, BD?
You know what? When I was a kid, I always like saw myself coaching and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But then as I got older, and I just kind of saw how a lot of the people you need to interact in that regard are, and the people that were my coaches growing up, and what type of people at least some of them were. It's like maybe that's not for me, but I've always found it pretty fascinating, just even just playing video games growing up, like getting to like put together a team. I always thought it was pretty cool, like just being able to build something that was yours. So it would be really cool, although it would be extremely difficult, especially in today's climate with how difficult it is to get a job in sports with what's going on. But it would be pretty cool to have some sort of GM front office position. Obviously, particularly hockey, but any sport would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think too. What is it? I had I think it was last week. Here, Tina's back. Let me just add her in. Last week I had someone on my podcast, video coach for the Belleville Sens, and he basically, I think you touched on it earlier. Tina, are you there? What he was saying was when he was going to Brock, so he's a Brock grad, he basically did what you did, what you were saying earlier, where he constantly tried to talk to as many people as he could, build that network and connection. And he would go to hockey games, so like junior A, wherever he could, and like tried scouting, interacting with them so they knew his face and it became familiar. And eventually, I think he started scouting for some teams, and I think he worked in sales as well, so that's how he kind of got his in. And then eventually that led to a position with an ECHL team, and then eventually, I think it was with the Brampton Beast, they got picked up by the Habs, and then, with the Habs was the St. John's, what were they called back then? Ice Caps?
Ice Caps, I think.
Ice Caps, yeah. So then
they change their names every 2 years.
Honestly, it's like the Newfoundland Growlers now, something like that.
Sorry, St. John's Ice Caps was an AHL team, but it's crazy. Like the AHL teams, probably at least 5 teams move or change their name or whatever each year, and I think the East Coast is probably even more so. So
100%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, he ended up just getting involved with them, and then now Brampton, he went back to there, and then Belleville needed a video coach, and he kind of jumped up, and pretty cool how just being from a sport grad and putting yourself in the right positions allowed him to be in a coaching position now.
Yeah, that's obviously a pretty cool gig to have, but as judging that is such a grind. You got to go through a lot of time, a lot of tough jobs, and then it also takes catching a break too, right? So sure. It's something that does not go without sacrifice and a lot of work put in.
Yeah, for sure. Tina, are you all right? Was it the internet connection?
Yeah, it just completely crashed, and it took a minute to reboot, but I'm back.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back. It's probably California, the weather,
I know.
Is it? No, I know this is off topic, but does it rain? Obviously it rains, but recently, has it been raining? It seems like it'd be so dry.
I think the last time it rained here was February or March.
Wow, just saying that sentence, you knew it was going to be a long time. Wow, another goal, too. But,
I had to think about it. I was like, when did it last rain?
Well, it rained here a few hours ago, if you're wondering. But, yeah.
I don't like rain, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, don't come to Ottawa then, because there's rain, hail, snow, ice. Whatever you want, Ottawa has.
I'm cool with snow, just not rain.
Have you ever been in snow?
I've been in snow. I don't live in snow, so that's probably why I like snow, but I've been to snow.
Have you been in proper snow? Because I lived in Boston for a year. So I'll set that up first. So I've always lived Ottawa, Gatineau, whole life. But then in grade 7, I had to move to Boston with, my family for my dad's job. And, here in Quebec, in the Western Quebec School Board, there is no such thing as a snow day. We are finishing for Saint Jean, which is Quebec Day, the 24th of June, regardless. So if you have a snow day, you have to push a day back, right? That doesn't happen in Quebec. You're going to school regardless. So one day, I couldn't even open my door because there's so much snow. Doesn't matter. My bus still drove by. Boston, nice enough town. This much snow. I don't know how many inches that is, but I guess you can figure that out. Maybe 3, 4, 2, something like that. Shut down for 3 days. We didn't go to school for I thought it was the craziest thing ever. Everyone's freaking out. No one's on the roads. Then me and my sister are just waiting for the bus in in a hoodie, and or my neighbor's like, "Oh yeah, there's no school." I was like, "Oh okay, that's pretty interesting." But yeah, I don't know what to go from here. 7-2. I think there's not much else to say here that Jacob is gonna win, but. Jacob, do you have any interesting stories considering you worked with the 67s when Konechny was there?
No, I wasn't when Konechny was there.
Oh, you weren't?
No, Konechny's my age, I'm pretty sure.
Wait.
So I would have been I'm pretty sure I would have been 16, 17 when he was there. And I just started with the 67s, so I was 19. So he was in the NHL already by the time I got there.
Really?
But yeah, but I think probably the best stories that I have from there was last season because I was with the team during the playoff run. I got to travel to all the games. Because you don't travel with them during the regular season, but I did for playoffs. And they went 14-0 to start the playoffs, and that was just insane. I was in Sudbury for triple overtime. It was the longest game in franchise history. That they ended up winning on the power play. I'm pretty sure in triple overtime. But yeah, it was just crazy. It got to be like it was just nuts. 14 straight wins to start the playoffs. Obviously, losing 4 in a row to end it was pretty tough. But yeah, it was just unreal, just being to travel with the team for the whole playoffs during that time was special times for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's too bad though that obviously I understand with COVID and you can't have sports going on. The 67s probably would have went on a pretty good run this year.
Yeah, they were really good again this year, which is crazy because a lot of people thought they were going to take a step back with the amount of players they lost last year, but they didn't. They were probably a better team statistically this year than last year, so it really sucks that they didn't get a chance, especially because I think the O was more wide open this year than it was last year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tina, I don't want to talk about hockey too much so you feel left out, but on the Connect Me topic, I actually worked at TD Place when he was still there, and I don't know if you remember this, but 67's how after the game they'd have all the players there and like family or people to take pictures with them. Mm-hmm. So I had to walk by to, do my job, like going through the office. And he was actually, a few of the players were a little shorter than I thought. I'm not a tall guy. I don't know why I need to share that, but I'm not that big. And he was actually pretty close to like my size, and I was almost shocked because the game he plays. But love those short, gritty guys. Same in football too, like Edelman.
I actually have a funny Claude Giroux story. So, just when you said that, like up in that area where they go after the game to meet like family and stuff. Mm-hmm. So after, I don't know if it was playoffs or not at this point. I think it was, but Ty Felber, when he was there last year, Ty Felber worked out with Tony Greco a lot.
Yeah.
And Tony Greco trains Claude Giroux in the off season normally. I think Claude's still in Philly right now, but normally he trains Claude in the off season. And they came to see after the game.
Pardon?
But the lady at the top of the stairs wouldn't let them down. And so I know Tony Greco a little bit. Like
You there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are back. Everything cut out on the stream too. Do you wanna? You said he trains with Tony. He came to a game.
Yeah.
You didn't say who you saw though.
Yeah. So Ty Felber trains with Tony, and then so Claude also trains with Tony, and so Claude and Tony came to TD to see Ty after the game, but the lady at the stairs would not let them down the stairs. Like she refused because they didn't have a pass.
Yeah. And
so I go upstairs. Like I didn't know Claude was there. Someone just said Tony Greco was at the top of the stairs, and I was like, "Hey, well, I know Tony like through a contact, and so I'll go talk to him." And I literally walk upstairs. He's like, "Hey, can you get us downstairs?" And then out of nowhere, like Claude Giroux just like comes out of like from like behind Tony. He's like, "Hey, Claude Giroux." He like shook my hand, and I was like, "Yeah, these guys are good." And so I like was able to bring them through. But it was just funny how like you wouldn't expect Claude to be there at the game. Yeah. And it was just literally at the top of the stairs, and the lady at the top of the stairs wouldn't let him through. She has no idea who he is, but it's just funny that he was just there.
Yeah, it's crazy how when you work at like a stadium or even for a team, like the amount of people that you meet. And I know when I was a teenager and I worked at the football stadium in Ottawa, just like what was the Women's World Cup? I think the King of Norway came, and I was like the supervisor for like transport or parking at the time. And they're like, "Oh, like block this area off." I'm like, "Okay, like, can I know why?" And there's a limo coming with royalty, and then you're like, "Oh, you're kidding me, right? Like this is Ottawa. Like, what are you talking about?" And then King of Norway, I think. I'm pretty sure it's Norway, maybe it's Sweden. One of those two. It was pretty crazy how, even just running into like NHL players all the time, like you mentioned. But you guys, wow, 9-2. Spencer, congratulations. You're not going to move on. No, I'm kidding. You easily move on. But here, I'm going to circle you right after this to move on. I don't know who you'll be playing considering the logistics of connecting all the teams and who has what game.
Yep.
But thank you to everyone coming on. And if maybe there's a last little round of chatting we can have, whether it's just kind of promoting yourself one last time and what you're up to and, type of people you want to connect with. So maybe go from bottom to top, Tina, Jacob, then Spencer. Oh, it got really dark.
Yeah, so before I talk about myself, I want to talk about Living Sport really fast. We do have a domestic trip coming up this year, I believe. It'll be in Nashville, Tennessee. Get to talk to some sport executives, and then from there, they'll be traveling to Alabama to work with the team is called the Trash Pandas. So it's super interesting name, brand new stadium, new team, super cool trip with our current circumstances going on. So definitely go check them out. It'll be super cool, super fun. Yeah, I'm just me hanging out in the sports world, working my way through it, just like kind of all of us, just enjoying the ride. So yeah, maybe I'll come back to me. You guys can talk.
Jacob?
Yeah, what are we saying exactly?
Basically just like who you want to connect with and where people can find you. So obviously your podcast, your your platforms as well.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to listen to my podcast, it's available wherever you get your podcast. The podcast is called My Social Life. It has a red cover art with like a white honeycomb logo. I got a big announcement coming up in the next week or so here at the podcast. So I'm excited to release that. So if you want to check that out, subscribe wherever you get to listen to podcasts. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. My social handles are the Jacob Kelly on all platforms, or just Jacob Kelly on LinkedIn. So happy to connect with everyone, answer any questions about working in sports, running an agency, hosting a podcast, whatever you want. Like, happy to connect with anyone. My DMs are always open.
Good stuff. Spencer, you want to wrap it up?
I wish I had a better answer than that. Honestly, I'm in a situation now where I'm looking to, I don't know exactly, what I want to do in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So I'm open to any cognitive discussion with anyone in a variety of fields, and definitely someone who's open to new experiences and working in different fields. And yeah, if anyone, I would say get together for a cup of coffee, but can't really do that these days. But a Zoom chat or a call, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. Probably don't want to follow any of my social media accounts, because those are just more me having fun with my friends and not doing anything too professional. So, so yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn though, if you want to have a serious conversation.
Yeah. Just in terms of what you were saying, quick plug to my podcast again. It's basically just a glorified coffee chat. So it's with people from like the NFL. I like to call it that because that's all it is. There's people from the NFL, NHL, someone from the NBA next week. They actually went to Ottawa too, and now they're like head of international development, something like that. And they kind of like break down their whole route, so how they got to where they are, and they kind of like spew all these different insights. And I said this on a podcast last week, actually, the Living Sport podcast. So shout out to Tina and Living Sport. But it's like a bunch of like notebooks I have just with all this advice that anyone who listens to can grab, and it's free, right? So why not take it and run with it? But Tina, you said maybe come back to you with maybe some last few nuggets you wanna share.
Yeah, just pretty much breaking into the industry, like Spencer said, like kind of got a goal, but I've changed that goal 3 times. Like my major started as chemistry, so I'm very much on that change my mind and flip it back and forth all the time. So very open to anything, open to conversations, LinkedIn, Insta, however you want to reach out, go for it. It's just my name, so nothing fancy.
Yeah. I think that's about it. I'm Christopher Nascimento. Nascimento Marketing is somewhere over there in the middle, just under Ovechkin and Giroux, funny enough, with Jacob and my story. But tune in to whatever I have, podcast, tournament. I'm also posting things that I'm doing in my career, whether it's with the soccer team or sometimes with athletes. So stay tuned to that. Thank you to all you guys for participating. I know we may have some internet issues today with just connections on Zoom or Twitch or whatever other platform we're on now. But thank you so much for coming on. And maybe if I compete with any one of you guys, it's probably going to be Jacob, because I think that's more of my skill set. But, yeah.
Fair.
Spencer, I'm actually going to go after you because I think I have you on PSN, so we'll play sometime too. But
okay.
Thanks to everyone for coming on. Anything else you guys want to share before I kind of end it? No? Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. And stay tuned for tomorrow, as it's going to be the second stream of the American bracket. And I think it's going to be Madden, if I'm not mistaken. So stay tuned for that. And have a good night. See you guys.
Take care.
Hey, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks.